Hello, everyone. Well, Thanksgiving is over, so Christmas is going to show up any minute. Today I'm going to play around with some holiday motifs. So I've mixed up some holiday appropriate colors, several greens, several reds, and I'm going to use my Neptune brushes. I'm going to use the Princeton Neptune 12, the Princeton Neptune 8, and my other favorite, number 8 round Velvet Touch, Princeton Velvet Touch. For little tiny details, I'm using a rigger. This is a number 1 rigger brush. And first thing we're going to do is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Then we put a layout together and paint the real thing. I wanted to use hot press paper this time, so what I'm using is, where is it? Oh, here it is. I'm using my Arches 140-pound hot press. So here we go. First thing I'm going to do is get some very creamy paint on my brush, and I'm going to pretty much use my whole arm for this. I'm going to just use the tip of the brush and stripe it down, and then wiggle it a little bit, get a little bit more pigment, wiggle it, wiggle it, wiggle it, come back in on the other side, and there you have it. Let's do another one. This one is going to be a little thicker. I'm just wiggling my brush. And then I'm going to grab some dark. Let's grab even more dark. I love these Neptunes. They just hold so much. So I like that shape. Let's grab another color. I'm going to flip this around because of my left hand. So maybe we want to have a more rounder shape. I'm going to go with more of a T consistency. That's pretty. The hot press is nice because the pigments just sit on top. I had a dark green on one side of my brush and a light green on the left. I'm going to do that again. I'm dipping the brush both sides of it. So I'll do, oh, it looks like I didn't get very much dark. I'll go back in. There we go. You can always do just a very simple evergreen, but it doesn't look as organic and lively as when you wiggle. Because nature's not perfect, so you don't want it to be perfect. Let's try a simple holly shape. It's really just bloop, 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 bloop. You're just making little waves. And then you fill them in. And leave little bits of white. You don't want it to be too, you want to have, I guess you could call it trapped light. I'm going to tap in a little bit of a yellowy green, see how it bleeds a lot differently than with the cold press paper. But also really interesting. You can use your brush like a stamp, make other kinds of leaves. take a small brush, connect them together. You can go back in and tap in some darks. The name of the game is experimentation. Just experiment. Add some veining if you want. Play around. I'm going to go back to my number 8 round, and I'm going to add some berries. And that's just a simple round shape. You just make a circle. Leave a little white. You can grab a little darker. And it's okay if the berry touches the green. I'm going to see what it's like using my Princeton number 8 Velvet Touch. Let's do some mistletoe. I'm coming off the paper here. I want to get a little bit darker. I can't even remember really what mistletoe looks like. That's sad. Nobody's used mistletoe on me for a long time. Aren't there little yellowish, whitish berries? I'm just going to make them red because I don't have any yellow mixed up. I like the Velvet Touch. It's a little snappier. I'll go back and add some darks. Add some depth, dimension. You don't get those big bursts of bleed with the hot press, but it is interesting. The color's so vivid because the paint just kind of sits on top. And I like going back in and adding detail with the Velvet Touch. The tip is just so pointy. I think I'm warmed up. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a look at these motifs. Oh yeah, I want to before I move on, I want to practice plaid. So I'm going to just use a little section right here and make just some lines. Oh, this is a big fat plaid. Turn the paper. Do it again. Then you let it dry. I'll be back in a minute. Well, that was really less than a minute because of my hairdryer. So I'm going to grab a slightly darker red and just darken where it's going to cross over, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just makes it read more like a plaid. There we go. What I try to do myself and tell other people to do is to play around with some different possible layouts. So I did some sketching Let's make sure you can see. Let's go back a little bit. I have this Cardinal sketch, and it's just a very, very loose sketch. I'm not going to trace it down or anything. I just wanted to see what I liked the best. And then this is your quintessential ornament on the branch that everyone has done. Here's a little younger, more playful design using the same motifs with incorporating the plaid in here in the stocking trim. And then this is just sort of an old-fashioned bouquet, I guess you could say, with the bow around it. With the poinsettia, is it poinsettia or poinsettia? I say poinsettia. I'm from Kansas. And the customary greenery. What I've decided is I'm going to come somewhere between these two. So on my hot press, I have sketched, I added in a little cardinal. I think I'm going to paint the little cardinal first and then have everything go around him. So let's dive right in. I'm going to start with a really light red and just build on him. I really like this paper. I go through phases. Sometimes I love, love, love the way the cold press sucks in the paint and absorbs it and bleeds and everything. But then I like a little variety. I like how you can just layer the paint and it stays on top. And that's his body. Here's his wing. I'm going to go a little darker. Again, this is a very loose style. While it's still wet, I'm adding some darker reds to his body. And then more of a scarlet for his tail. Let's go back. Let's go back in here. Adding some shading. Wanted to make his wing a little bit fatter with the illusion of feathers. And I'm going to grab my little brush and do some really dark, almost black leggies. And I said I didn't have any yellow, but I'm going to quickly grab some yellow for the beak. Now, I want everything to dry before I go back in and do the face, which is going to be black. So now I'm ready to dig in. I think I'm going to, since I've been using my red, I don't know if you can see this bow, I'm going to do the bow. And I'm using a fat brush. I'm using my Velvet Touch. And I'm just going to follow the curves of my sketch. To make it look dimensional. And then here's the back of the fabric right here. I'm pretty much just drawing with my brush tip. Not as much a big sweeping movement with my arm, more of just drawing. It's perfect in its imperfections. Now this is a little tricky. I'm going to curve it with the curve of the ribbon. And I am not coloring within the lines. But this is a graphite pencil and it tends to dissolve. So we're all good. I think it's kind of neat how the pigment kind of pools, and it really it looks like a shadow. So we're going to repeat the process. Sort of cheat right here. I'm starting to get the Christmas spirit. And it's okay if the edges are a little bit weird. I'm going to go in at the very end with black to define things, so we can keep it very loose. I'm using the tip and a little bit of the side of my brush, as you can see. Let's see. The bow supposedly goes in a little point. So I'm just going to go like that. All right. I'm going to grab a little bit of that bright red and just do add some feathers to this guy's chest. That looks better. And I'm going to grab, now that it's dry, I'm going to grab my black. It's not black, it's Payne's Gray. I'm going to circle around the eye. I need my glasses for these little tiny things. I think I'll add a little weight to the legs. And now I'm ready to do some greenery. So, I'm going to start with a lighter green. Let's see. Comes from here, goes down here, breaks up here, ends up down here. I'm talking to myself. Then this one pops up right here. I'm just going to indicate a few little short bits of greenery up here. I'm glad I warmed up. I'm feeling nice and loose. I'm starting light because I can take these next leaves and put them on top. Don't forget to wiggle. I'm going to go a little darker. These are going to be kind of hidden behind stuff. This guy's coming in here. My dog hears another dog. It's okay, Nix. Good girl. Protecting me from the puppy next door. Oh yeah, I'm loosened up. This is good. You know when you first sit down after you haven't painted for a while and you're kind of tight? I hate that feeling. So now I'm just sort of dancing around, adding some darks where I think darks need to go. Am I even still in the picture? There we go. So I'm gonna stop the camera for a little while and finish the evergreens, and I'll be right back. I'm happy with the way the evergreen turned out. I used 3 different greens and a very dark bluish green as an accent. So now I'm ready to move on. I'm going to, I brought in kind of a dusty, more of an aqua green accent for this imaginary leaf. Not sure what it is. I'm not sure what it is, but I like it. And this is very loose paint. This is, it's coffee. And I'm just interested in seeing what happens, how it puddles, because that's what I'm letting it do. Grab a little bit more. See what it does. I think the slightly bluer shade is a nice contrast. I think I'm going to go even lighter for this, which looks like eucalyptus. I'm going to let the leaves connect with the center branch. Even on this hot press paper, drying pretty fast. Must mean my heater's on. That said, what happens if I tap a little blue? And a little bit of a bleed. Kind of an interesting thing going on. So that's coming from here. Let's add a little brown to make it look a little more realistic. Realistic, huh? Go back to this guy. Am I off the page? There we go. Darkening the branch a little bit. Oh, I quite like the eucalyptus. Let's add some berries. This paint is almost butter. It's between cream and butter. So hypnotic. I'm going to add some even darker berries up here to contrast with the bow, the red in the bow. I don't have my reading glasses on, so I couldn't do tight detail even if I tried. Let's put some more brighter red down here. There is a method to the madness. So you're probably getting bored with watching me paint berries. I think what I'll do is I'll finish the berries and the things that look like eucalyptus, and then I'll come back on. I'm back. Actually, I forgot to turn the camera back on. As you can see, I finished off the leaves. I've done a little splattering, and now I just want to add a little detail. And I'm going to use Black India ink for this instead of the gray, because I just think it's a much more vivid, crisp line. So I'm going to lift you up a little bit, and here I go. I'm using my rigger brush, and I'm just going to start up here You know what? I'm not going to use my rigger. I'm going to use my number 2 rounds because I don't need to get that tiny. I think I can get better control. I'm just going to sort of tap, hit and miss here. I don't want a thick solid outline. I just want to define the shape a little bit better. Oh, am I off the picture? Okay, I'm in view. Just clean things up a little. This is a good way to hide all your boo-boos. I'm going to darken some of the areas where the berries connect. Maybe darken some of the stems. I might even add a little veining for interest. Like I said, hit and miss. Connect those berries. Let's connect these better. You can see me going 360 degrees with this paper. Adds a little depth. I added some more greens under the bird, so it looked like he's really clustered in there. Not every plant gets treated the same way. Don't know what happened here. So now what do I want to do? I think I want to go in with some white. Clean the brush very, very, very well. Bleed-proof white. And you want butter consistency. Might add some highlights. I'm just going to kind of mushing a little bit to indicate maybe some snow. Maybe highlights on the berries that I missed leaving white. Some places where the color got really heavy and thick, you can dab some white in to break it up a little. You can also do this with a sponge. I'm just dancing around with the tip of my brush. If you decide you want to use a sponge, just use a little sea sponge, but test it on another piece of paper first so you don't ruin things. I like to break up long stems with little bits of white. Smooth out an ugly leaf. Am I making you dizzy? I'm making myself a little dizzy. See, I like how some of these areas of trapped light look, so I'm just faking it in some other areas. Gotta do that over here. Oh, where'd that red come from? Don't worry, I can go over it later when it dries. Let's go right side up, see what's going on. I like the little bits of white in the Cardinal. That left hand drags through things. I want to fix the Cardinal's eye a little bit. Oh, I'm scared. Clean a lot of the pigment off my brush. And just, you can rest the side of your hand on your paper to help steady your hand. Let's give him a couple little highlights. Less is more. I think I'm done. Let me know what you think. But most importantly, sign it. Thanks for watching.